Hey guys, and welcome back to What If Soul. I'm your host, Broken Soul, and it's time for a new episode of What If Zuko Fought Back. But before we get started, guys, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Let's try and grow a community one sub at a time. And as always, the recap. Where we last left off, Zuko had actually fought back against his father during their Agni Kai that had Zuko banished in the first place. However, when Zuko did fight back, he was able to badly burn and even scar his own father. Granted, it was across his chest and no one could see it, but it is still there. Fire Lord Ozai actually applauds this, allows Zuko to stay, giving him his praise and actually showing him kindness and respect. In fact, the entire nation feels the exact same way, as Zuko is beloved by everybody. And this, of course, makes Azula furious because, she has that complex about her. Anyway, one day, the statues in the temple started to glow, and the fire priest let Ozai know that the Avatar has returned. So he sends Zuko off to go and capture the Avatar, but not before Zuko asks to have Uncle Iroh go with him, and after they leave, Azula is on their tail, with Ozai giving these very blatant instructions. I don't care who comes out on top, just make sure that you are the only one to come back alive. And we can now move on to the actual story. Is what you think I would say. So, normally I would continue the story on, but here's the thing. Zuko's story and Aang's story both run parallel to each other. It's almost like they're two sides of the same coin. So for me to actually continue on with the story, I had to back up again to the beginning of the story. Back in the South Pole. Now a lot of that story actually stays the exact same way. Katara freeing Aang from the iceberg, Aang having a bunch of shenanigans with Katara, Sokka getting more and more agitated, all that different stuff. In fact, it goes all the way up until where Aang sets off that flare signaling the Fire Nation, and of course Sokka banishes Aang. Now Sokka is, again, he's preparing for war, waiting for them to arrive. But here's the thing though, normally it would be Zuko that arrives on that ship, but he's not in the South Pole. He's still in the Fire Nation at this point, still studying and trying to be a better leader for the nation. However, a different ship shows up. It launches out several different soldiers, all ready to attack Sokka. They surround him. It's easily a 6-on-1, but Sokka's prepared. Boomerang in one hand, club in the other. He's ready for a fight. That's when they attack. One soldier to Sokka's left launches out a fire blast, but Sokka easily dodges out of the way, rolling backwards, throwing out his boomerang. The soldier ducks, but the boomerang comes right back, knocking him out, laying him flat in the snow. The other soldiers actually are taken back by this, as the commander says, "Take him!" All the soldiers rush in, but after grabbing his boomerang, Sokka actually is ready for them. One after the other, each of the soldiers go down as he swings with his club, throwing his boomerang, hitting them one after the other. They keep going down more and more. Sokka finally gets to the leader of the group. He throws out his boomerang, but the soldier's ready for it. He actually ducks. But when he ducks, he does not see that Sokka is ready for him. Lifting his leg, doing a Spartan kick right to his face, launching him backwards several feet. He skids across the snow. Sokka walks up to him, holding his spear right to his throat. That's when the commander holds up his hands, saying he surrenders, crying, begging for his life. That's when Sokka says, "Leave, and never return." The commander then asking, "What's your name, brave warrior?" That's when he proudly says, "It's Sokka." After that, Sokka wakes up. Yeah, that never happened. Sorry guys, I couldn't resist. No, essentially, like I said, another ship does show up, but it's literally just the Southern Raiders. They surround the village, hold everyone captive. Sokka tries to fight back, but really he's doing no better. He's doing no better in this scenario than he did the last one. However, just like last time, Aang comes in and actually helps drive off the Fire Nation soldiers alongside Katara and Sokka. After they leave, Sokka reveals that those were the Southern Raiders, a Fire Nation detachment, whom, as the name implies, are stationed roughly in the southern part of the world. Katara gets a bit of a grim look on her face. She is angry, but that look actually goes away after the Raiders leave. Aang notices this but doesn't say a thing. Actually, this was the thing that kind of sparked Aang to realize that there is a war going on. And after not really a lot of convincing, he actually asks Sokka and Katara if they wanted to come with him so that they can help him find a waterbending teacher for himself and for Katara. Katara obviously agrees to this right away, but Sokka, being a little bit aloof, takes a few minutes, but he ultimately agrees as well. Especially after his Grand gives him some supplies for himself, Katara, and for Aang, and says, "Good luck and take care of your sister. We'll be fine." After a teary goodbye from Sokka and Katara, the two of them hop onto Appa and they make their way for the North Pole. Along the way, Aang and the others stop by the Southern Air Temple, where, even though they may have run into Momo like in the original, sadly, just like in the original, Aang sees that firebenders came and they killed Gyatso. This pushes Aang over the edge and puts him into the Avatar state. As soon as he does, every single statue, monument, temple, mural, everything that involves the Avatar, all of their eyes glow bright, telling the entire world that the Avatar has returned. Word makes its way everywhere, including to that of the Fire Lord. This is where both stories sync right up. Now it's at this point that after Katara talks Aang down and the now family of 5 make their way north, Aang has the group stop off at Kyoshi Island. Side note, now at this point guys, Zuko does not know where the Avatar is. All he knows is that he has returned. But he wanted to do what he kind of did before, making his way to each of the air temples. Of course, he's arming through the blockade, he's making his way over where he needs to go to. Now, as for Aang and them, they do stay there for a while, but they actually end up staying a lot longer than they thought because, well, when Aang tried to show off for the girls again to try and ride the Unagi, yeah, it was a lot more of a rough ride than he thought, and Aang actually wound up being knocked out for a couple of weeks, having to stay behind so they can nurse him back to health. That gave plenty of time for word to make his way to Zuko as soon as he hit landfall that the Avatar is on Kyoshi Island. Zuko is on his way over, and he's ready for a hunt. By the time Aang is fully healed and he's finally able to sit down and listen to Katara so they can actually take off and go to the North Pole, Zuko finally makes his arrival. Now, because Zuko has spent a lot more time being better trained, better studied, better, just being better all around, he actually stands a much better chance against the Kyoshi warriors. Not that he had any issue beforehand. He and his soldiers actually have the entire town completely at their mercy. Even when Aang shows up finally and takes down some of the other firebenders, he still stands off against Zuko. And it looks just like one of those old Western movies. Zuko on one side of the town, Aang on the other. Zuko finally getting a good look at the Avatar. And he sees that the Fire Nation's greatest threat is a little kid. Now, Zuko is cautious, but he is still the aggressor in this fight, launching a few fire blasts at Aang to kind of get a feel for how he moves. And he's noticing throughout the fight, as he's launching attack after attack, that Aang is only dodging or only using air bending. No earth bending, no water bending, no fire bending. That tells him one very major and one very important thing. Aang is looking for a waterbending master. He kind of puts it together when he figures out, okay, he has 2 southern tribe peasants with him, but at the same time he knows that all the southern waterbenders are gone. So he has to be looking for a master. He must have picked them up to be his companions, his servants, whatever. And they have to make their way north. That's the only thing he can think of. So at the very least, as Zuko is fighting against Aang, and Aang does manage to give him the slip, again as he always does, he's a slippery guy, Zuko at least knows, make your way north. Over on Appa, as Aang is flying across the sky to go north with Katara and Sokka, they have a discussion. Katara, well, more like Katara has the discussion. She's one who lays it on thick, telling Aang that they cannot waste any time making stops here and there. They have to move straight for the North Pole to find a master for both of them. Aang fully agrees, knowing how much more dangerous this is all getting. And he says firmly, "No, Katara, you're right. No more silly trips. From now on, we're making our way straight for the North Pole to find you and me a waterbending master." And that's where I'm going to leave it for now, guys. So, what do you think? I was able to kind of give backstory on Aang since I already did Zuko for his part. The two of them finally got to converge. Zuko was able to see what's going on with the Avatar and what exactly the situation is. And now, Aang and Katara are now much more determined than ever to get to the North Pole. So let me know what you guys think. But until next time, guys, this is Broken Soul saying, may your souls be ever bright. I love you guys. Bye.